North Carolina lawmakers vote to ban China, hostile countries, from buying U.S. farmland. China rebuffs Korea-U.S. defense alliance with its version of history. Japan's military pivot of shield to sword worries Beijing. Harshly treated by the CCP, online ride-hailing giant Didi lost $3.5 billion last year.
The North Carolina House lawmakers unanimously approved a bill on Wednesday, April 26th, banning state-owned companies and hostile foreign countries, including China, from buying farmland or any other land near a military base. The bill passed with a 114-0 vote and now heads to the state Senate, joining the latest U.S. states to pass such measures. It comes after the Chinese spy balloon incident that outraged the U.S. for gathering sensitive military information and posing national security risks. State Representative Jennifer Balcom, co-sponsor of the bill, said, "What triggered the conversation of building this bill was the spy balloon that the security risked to North Carolina as it flew over." She added, "We just want to protect the farmland if possible, and this is just a tool in the toolbox for North Carolina to help do that." House State Majority Leader John Bell said, "This legislation will mitigate an unnecessary threat to our national and food security." According to the National Agricultural Law Center, 11 states have considered banning Chinese investments. With the latest move, North Carolina has become the fifth state that has enacted restrictions prohibiting Chinese investments in U.S. farmland. 4 other states include Arkansas, Idaho, Utah, and Virginia. Legislators in Montana and North Dakota have passed restrictions, but the measures have yet to be enacted. In Texas, the state Senate passed a similar bill. Mika Brown, a National Agricultural Law Center research fellow, said, "This is not the first time in our nation's history that this issue has appeared. This is actually kind of the fifth political flashpoint." China expert Gordon Chang from the Gaston Institute said, "We definitely need to be worried about Chinese investment in our agricultural sector." He told Fox News in an interview, "Now, if the Chinese were to own more and more agriculture, they could very well plant those seeds and actually blight American food production." At the national level, Senator Tom Cotton introduced a bill in March banning Chinese citizens from buying farmland and real estate in the U.S. Cotton told Fox News, "For decades, the Chinese Communist Party has been gobbling up American farmland and real estate." He added, "At best, this submits American land and resources to China's best interests, not America's. At worst, these purchases serve as outposts for Chinese espionage campaigns against American businesses and military bases." The Chinese Communist Party is warning South Korea against a U.S. alliance by flaunting a China victory in the Battle of Choisin Reservoir during the Korean War. It happens as Beijing is already irked by South Korean President Yoon Suk-yeol's U.S. visit. At a joint session on April 27th, the South Korean leader praised both governments' decade-long defense relationship, citing the battle at Lake Changjin. Yoon said Korea's freedom and democracy were on the brink. At that decisive moment, the U.S. did not look the other way. Korean and American soldiers stood shoulder to shoulder and fought bravely. Tales of our heroes were written.
Miraculously broke through a wave of 120,000 Chinese troops at the Battle of Lake Changjin.
The Battle of Lake Changjin, also known as the Battle of Choisin Reservoir, occurred during the Korean War in the late 1950s. At the time, the UN troops, mainly U.S. Marines, managed to clear the Chinese communists from South Korea and almost push them over the Chinese border. However, the Chinese People's Volunteer Army, PVA, swiftly joined the conflict and outnumbered the UN troops by nearly a multiple of 10. President Yoon recalled that 4,500 American service members were sacrificed. On April 28th, Chinese Foreign Ministry spokeswoman Mao Ning flaunted the casualties suffered by the American forces. She boasted that an entire U.S. regiment of 24,000 troops perished in that war. She reiterated, "With solid facts, the war had shown the world that if any country or military chooses to stand on the wrong side of history, bully the weak, act against the will of the people, and engage in territorial expansion or invasion, it will pay dearly for its egregious acts." Mao did not acknowledge the North Korean assault on South Korea, but described China's participation in the conflict as a war to resist U.S. intrusion and support Korea against the UN coalition. According to the U.S. Marine Corps, her version has failed to highlight that the U.S. task force that was doomed to fail stopped the Chinese advance along the eastern side of Chosin for 5 days and enabled the Marines alongside the west side to retreat. The war closed in a break of warfare after 3 years of encounters. It offered the Republic of Korea the alternative to stick to its freedom from its communist northern neighbor and switch to an essential U.S. backup in the region. An influential Chinese military journal, Modern Ships, has harshly criticized Japan's efforts to adopt a more offensive posture to become a significant regional military force as relations between the two countries deteriorate. According to South China Morning Post, the journal is run by the China Shipbuilding Industry Corporation and published under the Chinese Ministry of Science and Technology. For the first time, the magazine said that Japan has demonstrated in its most recent defense budget how its military could launch long-range strikes against enemy ground troops and surface vessels. The journal reported in its April issue that a long-range strike scenario demonstrated how the Japanese armed forces could coordinate firepower, including submarines, aerial satellites, guide bombs, hypersonic cruise missiles, and fighter jets, to target and destroy opponent installations. The publication criticized Japan for escalating regional geopolitical tensions, facilitating arms races in the Asia-Pacific region, and jeopardizing the overall prospects of Sino-Japan relations. The magazine said, Japan's self-defense forces turning to an offensive posture shows that Japan's right-wing forces are breaking the post-war system and intervening in regional situations. It will have a serious impact on the regional military balance and strategic stability and deserves high vigilance. It added, once Japan has the ability to conduct long-range strikes, the nation is expected to change from a shield to a sword and push for a complete lift of the ban on the development of its military power and eventually achieve the country's goal of becoming a major military power. Late last year, Japan's government approved a new defense spending package totaling $52 billion, 6.2 trillion yen, a 26% increase over the previous defense budget. After being surveilled by the CCP, Chinese mobile transportation platform giant Didi Chuxing recently posted loss-making results for last year. According to Daji Yuan, on April 29th, Didi Chuxing published its annual report on its official website after delisting. In 2022, the company's revenue decreased 19% from the previous year's period. As a result, the net loss in 2022 is nearly $3.5 billion, 23.8 billion yuan. However, Didi's Chinese operations are showing signs of recovery in the first months of this year. In March, the firm said that Didi recorded an average of 28.2 million daily transactions, representing a 42% year-on-year increase. For the 12 months that ended March 31, 2023, Didi Chuxing had 587 million annual active users and 23 million annual active drivers worldwide. Among them, China's travel business has 411 million annual active users and 19 million annual active drivers. Didi Chuxing's principal shareholders include many world-famous companies such as Uber, Tencent, Alibaba Group, CITIC Industrial Investment Fund, Baidu, and Apple. On June 30th, 2021, Didi Chuxing was listed on the New York Stock Exchange in the United States. However, it was constantly monitored by CCP authorities from the third day after listing. The CCP's regulator said Didi Chuxing's listing in the United States involved cross-border data security issues. Didi Chuxing was delisted from the New York Stock Exchange in June 2022 and begun preparations for a listing in Hong Kong. Affected by surveillance by the CCP authorities, Didi Chuxing announced a revenue loss of $4.3 billion in the third quarter of 2021, which was after Jean Liu, the current president of Didi, reported a profit of $30 million for the first quarter of 2021. In 2022, Chinese authorities fined Didi $1.16 billion. In addition, Cheng Wei, president and CEO of Didi Global Company Limited, and Liu Qing, president of Didi Global Company Limited, each were fined $140,000.